Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my Week 14 Top 25 review, the last normal week of football before we get to the college football playoff and the championships and the bowl games, which is pretty sad. But what you cannot ask for a better way to go out. Fabulous games this weekend. We'll get into all of them shortly. A like and subscribe would help. A comment always helps. Let's get right into this thing. So starting off, Memphis at Tulane. At the time of making my prediction video, this game was already over. So pretty much Tulane sold. That's all there is. That's all there is to it. I don't understand why Tulane was skyrocketing in the rankings, especially being above Kansas State, in which they lost to. This Tulane team also lost to Oklahoma. They took 2 steps into Power 4 and lost. One of them, like Oklahoma, I predicted they would win that game. They didn't, and that was, to me, where like, okay, Tulane is a phony. They're phonies. They're not good. That was kind of like my dealio. The Kansas State game was definitely more impressive, but still, losing to Oklahoma like that. Oklahoma's not like the best team ever. I wouldn't say like they're the most awful thing. They definitely found a rhythm against Alabama, but there's still a lot of work to do there, and Tulane got dominated. So, yeah, Tulane sold. Bye-bye, Tulane. That's a blessing for ASU as well, by the way. Oregon State at Boise State. God, how I am praying on Boise State's downfall right now. I'm absolutely praying for Boise State's downfall. I thought this one would be close. It was like relatively close. It was a well-fought match, but Oregon State, they just felt like getting penalties at the worst possible times, and they lost. I mean, probably expected. Oklahoma State at Colorado. Congratulations, Oklahoma State. Name a better way to go out on this pathetic ass season. Let's have it be a shutout as well. Why not? Beautiful job, Oklahoma State. The biggest collapse we have seen. I mean, Florida State definitely probably worse, but at least, first game of the season they lose to Georgia Tech, and we're like, okay, they're not that good. They're not that good of a football team, which, to be honest, a 3-point loss against Georgia Tech is starting to look better and better, but still they're awful everywhere else. But Oklahoma State was a bit of a different story. They went 3-0 in non-conference play, one of which was an SEC team, Arkansas. They did win it in double overtime, but what's important is they managed to win it. Like, they haven't had many opportunities to do that at all this season. And quite frankly, this is another Oklahoma State team that got injury infested. They're playing random quarterbacks at this point. I'm not really sure what lies in the future for Oklahoma State. But they've been consistently doing this where they go to the Big 12 championship, then the next year they fall apart. Then the next year they start off unranked, don't look too good, but they make the Big 12 championship. And then the next year they fall apart. So are we ready to see Oklahoma State bounce back next year? Possibly. But Colorado kind of needed some help this weekend to get into the Big 12 championship. You drop one to Kansas, you're out. And, yep. They're not in anymore, so bye-bye Colorado. Mississippi State at Ole Miss. This one had no right being close, and it was close. I understand there's a bitter rivalry here, but Ole Miss is eons better than Mississippi State. And if Mississippi State had any form of offensive presence at all, they could have won this game. And they had it early, but they lost it late. And Ole Miss has had a pretty good defense this year, but also, when I turned on the game for a little bit, they went for some trick play where they ran up to the line and floated it, and there was just an Ole Miss defender all over it, and an easy turnover. And it's like, when you play football like that, it's like, dude, what are you even doing? Just play football. Design normal plays. Stop with that bullshit, because that time it didn't work. It's just like, all right, Mississippi State, you're Mississippi State. Congratulations. Georgia Tech at Georgia, a game that will feed families for generations to come. I expected Georgia Tech to go into this game and play tough. I said in my prediction video, I said, don't sleep on the Yellow Jackets. They will play this one tough. But they played it tough. We all know 8 overtimes, but they lost. And quite frankly, Georgia Tech blew every opportunity to win this game. They played great football. Haynes King played great football. People want to spark a controversy about the targeting thing, but let's not pull excuses. Okay, there's missed calls every single game. Like, the main thing here was Georgia Tech had so many opportunities in overtime and in the regular game to win this game. If they missed a field goal, I think, if I remember correctly, they missed a field goal and then they went for it in like the Georgia 25 and they didn't get it. They went for fourth down and they didn't get it. I mean, if you just perform better there, Georgia is not winning this football game. It is wraps. And while that fumble was pretty bad by the Georgia Tech, by the Georgia Tech quarterback, that's what happens when you get a running quarterback. You can almost expect that. But then you enter overtime. You do a great job. I mean, what was the score going into overtime? It was like, I don't remember what score it was, but once we entered the 2-point conversions, the defense did a great job of holding Georgia out of the end zone multiple occasions, but Georgia Tech's offense was only responding when they literally needed to, like only putting on the points when they needed to. And finally, Georgia just decided to hit him with a run play right up the gut. He got it, and game over. Georgia Tech kind of blew every opportunity. I understand their guys are gassed, and it's a lot harder than it looks, but still, I mean, in a game like this, you gotta punch it in. You got to punch it in when you're given opportunities. But what does this mean for the SEC? I mean, seriously, Georgia could be a 3-loss team. Georgia could be a 3-loss team playing in the SEC championship right now. They had to pull out a game in 8 overtimes against a 4-loss team in the ACC, or now a 5-loss team in the ACC. I mean, like, is the SEC, like, actually any good? I've been preaching on that all year, saying, like, the SEC is not as good as we think. They were flooded with preseason rankings, which have determined their quote-unquote skill and their conference difficulty. The rankings were just preseason rankings that stuck around and stayed around. But to me, the rankings don't really mean shit, because when you look at a conference like the Big 12, where most of the ranked teams lie at the bottom of the top 25, that's because they had to earn their rankings. BYU started off unranked and had to go undefeated for so long to get their ranking. Kansas State, while they started off and they tried to hold on to theirs, Oklahoma State fed into the conference. Utah fed into the conference. Arizona and Kansas, not really, because, again, they were at the bottom. But when you've got, like, Texas A&M at 15, Georgia at 1, Alabama at, like, 4, LSU at 8, like, Missouri at 9, all these teams in the SEC that were super highly ranked that all play each other, the ranks just get passed around. The ranks just keep on getting passed around. Texas A&M beats Missouri. They eat the soul of the ranking, and then a team turns around and like South Carolina beats Texas A&M. They take the soul of the ranking. Like, the rankings were just getting tossed around in that conference. I feel like that's what the difference is. There weren't enough teams ranked in the other conferences to create like this soul-feeding rank system like the SEC has, but the SEC had so many ranked teams that all play each other that it's just getting passed around, and the losses are all to the ranked teams. It's all getting passed around and stuff like that. And now you look at Georgia. You look at Georgia take like literally a step out of the conference, a game they were absolutely favored to win. Barely anybody gave the Yellow Jackets an opportunity to win this game. And while the Yellow Jackets have been one of the best teams in the ACC, even though the record would beg to differ, this was before this weekend the only team to beat Miami. I mean, they definitely have done some impressive things this year, and also they were missing their starting quarterback against like 2 of their most important games on the schedule. Georgia Tech definitely is better than their record, but still top of the ACC versus top of the SEC, like 8 overtimes. Like, the ACC is not like a super dominant conference. They're not on the same level as the Big Ten, but I'm starting to think that the SEC is overrated. But there's another example of how another conference could be overrated very soon. Oh, it's the very next game. Once you look at that, we all know what happened. I expected Michigan to perform well. I expected them to perform good because rivalry, but I expected it more of an offensive point of view because I was like looking at the talent of Ohio State compared to Michigan. Like, dude, they have so many talented players, and their offense is just brutal. Their offense has so many star receivers. It is just dominant. O-line's been struggling, but like the past game should have had no problem struggling. I was saying, like, if Michigan was going to hang in this game, they were going to dial up some early points offensively on some certain schemes and stuff, but ultimately Ohio State would win. Wrong. Wrong. And better yet, Michigan won. What's really embarrassing about this game was Ohio State really in the second half of football. While Ohio State missed out on some opportunities for points, so did Michigan. That end zone interception they threw was pathetic. I don't understand why you don't just run the ball. Just run the ball. Like, it's been working all game. Why do you now try to do a pass play? It was a bad throw, and like a fucking edge rusher or something picked it off. Terrible play call. I disagreed with it. I thought they blew the game away. And how does Ohio State respond with it? 3 and out. Punt. Michigan goes down the field, gets 3, get the ball back, 4 and out. Ohio State's offense was absolutely locked down by Michigan's defense, which has been the story of Michigan thus far. That's why they were even ranked in the top 10, was because we knew this team was going to have a damn good defense going into this year. We were aware of that, all right? We were definitely aware of the defense being good, but the offense was the main struggle, and that's where I think Michigan really struggled a lot this year and dropped some games, was because they couldn't perform offensively like they did last year. A major portion to why Michigan won last year was really because of their defense holding their opponents to very low point totals, but obviously offensively they had a very, very solid run game. Like, passing-wise, Michigan was not that good. They were not that good. But running-wise, this team was making Donovan Edwards look like a top draft pick, and Blake Corum look like a top draft pick, making all these people on the offense look fabulous. And while J.G. McCarthy and Roman Wilson are good good offensive players, still their name of the game was heavily run-based, which led Michigan to a damn national championship. If they can bring that back, I believe they got like a 5-star quarterback or something like that. If they can bring that offense back and continue to establish this dominant defense, Michigan can jump right back into their position of power. Because the way they're doing it, they're shutting them down. They're shutting teams down. I'll tell you this much right now. Ryan Day has to win the national championship. He has to. I have not really thought he's been a bad coach, and I've advocated for him. I've felt for him because, like, I don't really know an example. Maybe Oklahoma. Oklahoma's had a lot of opportunities to go to the national championship or just the college football playoff and maybe win it. And they've fallen short like every single year. Ohio State has fallen very short many years in a row now. Like, literally in that 2022 year, dude, a field goal away from a national championship. We got to remember, a field goal away from a national championship, because going up against TCU, they probably would have killed them. I mean, Michigan had to give TCU so many defensive points to win that game, for them to win that game. Ohio State kicks that field goal. They're probably your national champions, but they didn't, and they missed it, and they've regressed barely. I mean, you got to remember last year as well, like the game, Michigan versus Ohio State, came down to the wire, and it ended on an interception over the middle of the field. I mean, just two really good football teams going at it. But since there was so many one-loss and undefeated teams, like Michigan, Washington, Alabama, Texas, Florida State, Ohio State, they weren't even in the question. Were they even a one-loss team at that point, or were they a two-loss team? I can't remember if they dropped one or not. I think they might have been a one-loss team, but even like Georgia was ahead of them. I don't remember. I think they might have been a one-loss team, but like Ryan Day has had these good teams and stuff, and I've felt for him because it's like he loses at the worst time and he gets the shit for it until this game. This was a must-win game. You cannot lose your fourth year in a row to this opponent in the rivalry of a lifetime. I've also been an advocator for saying this has not been the best rivalry. I think the best rivalry is Alabama versus Auburn. But after witnessing this game and the after-game performance, yeah, this is the best rivalry in college football. There's no doubt about it. It's the best rivalry in sports. I'd say like 3 college football games are within the top like 5 rivalries of all time. I'm no exaggeration there. And Michigan claims the number 1 spot now. The post game was unbelievable. While people are like, "There's no need for that in sports. There's no need for that." Like, I guarantee you, if you were a player for the winning team being Michigan, you would be doing the same shit. Don't trip. You're just the spectator. Don't trip. You'd be doing the same shit. That win is monumental. But if Ryan Day does not go on to win the national championship, I think he's getting the boot. The question is who replaces him. I'm not really sure. Hell, it ain't going to be Kenny Dillingham, I can tell you that. But who replaces the Ohio State head coach? I don't know. And let me know in the comments who you think would replace Ryan Day. Maybe they've got some ideas. Maybe Urban Meyer's going to come back. I don't know. I've got no idea who's going to take that spot, which could pose a problem for Ohio State as a program, being forced to stick it out with Ryan Day, which, while that looks like a bad thing, like if you want to stick in the position Ohio State's been in, you stick with Ryan Day. And while that looks like a bad thing, Ohio State will still be like a top team. But this loss was the biggest upset. This loss might have been the biggest upset in college football. The way people have been speaking so notoriously of this Oregon and Ohio State team, the amount of talent on Ohio State, Oregon as well, but really Ohio State has the majority of talent. And a lot of people are saying Ohio State's going to beat Oregon in the Big Ten championship. Just got to make it there, and you drop one to 6-5 Michigan in your home stadium in a rivalry of a lifetime. This poor Buckeyes fan base has been 3 years in a beatdown, and while I love every second of it, 3 years in a beatdown, you finally get your opportunity. Everybody's like, all right. Even Michigan fans are like, all right, we won 3 years in a row. We got a national championship. We'll back off, all right? We will back off. And they didn't back off. They fucking beat them, which was so funny. So funny, so chaotic. Great finish to the year, but definitely spells doom for Ohio State. Tennessee at Vanderbilt. Glad I didn't pick Vanderbilt in this one, and Diego Pavia was healthy. While this team got off to a feisty start, I was really like, man, maybe Vanderbilt will do it. But then Tennessee became Tennessee, and they shut him down. What really was the problem in this game was Vanderbilt could not stop Tennessee offensively. Tennessee was down like 17. They were down like 17-7. At a point, they were down 14-0. And the final score being 36-23, which pretty much like all came in the second half. Maybe in like the second quarter, I think they tied it 17 all. But like, when you're in such a competitive game, you got to continue forward, and Tennessee just dominated. Tennessee shut them down offensively and stuff, and dominated offensively. They were straight up just a better team. Unfortunate for Vanderbilt fans. This was probably their best shot at beating Tennessee, unless Tennessee regresses a lot next year and Vandy improves. I don't really see Vanderbilt going on the road. I know this is way too early to even be saying anything about that. How the fuck am I going to know about like literally a whole year away? But like this was their opportunity to take down their rival, bring that bring the life to Vanderbilt, but Tennessee was just a better team, which should show that Alabama's really not that good of a football team because Alabama lost to Vanderbilt and Tennessee. And look at how Vanderbilt is performing against Tennessee. Like, I think Alabama's, I was saying, like, oh, they're the number one team in the country a couple weeks ago after watching more and more. They are not. They shouldn't even, I don't even think, there's just one thing we got to talk about when we get to them. South Carolina at Clemson. Very, very proud of this pick because I low-key threw it up on a coin flip and just said, give me South Carolina. I was just pretty much saying, like, I think it's going to be around this point total and give me South Carolina. That's all I'm saying. I don't really know who's going to win this game. Give me South Carolina. South Carolina ended up getting it done. And the quarterback for South Carolina, I got to tell you, carry. While a defense also carry, quarterback for South Carolina carried. He literally put the game on his back, like 2 rushing touchdowns, 1 to put the game away. Very impressive performance. That kid is a dog at South Carolina. He made some fabulous plays for them to win this game. And Clemson loses to the Gamecocks again in their home stadium. And Clemson, while no spoilers, has a shot at the ACC championship. I'm not really sure they're going to get into the college football playoff. Illinois at Northwestern. Illinois won. Congratulations. Maryland at Penn State. Penn State won. Congratulations. Notre Dame at USC. I picked USC to win this one, and they could have. Let me tell you, they could have. Well, this game was back and forth. And USC was getting ready to go punch in a touchdown, tie the game 35-all, and pick six. Make it 42-28. They go down the field, another pick six, 100-yard return, put the game away. Sold 2 pick sixes. You got to be pretty happy with your with that. You got to be pretty happy with that, but still, Notre Dame's defense definitely allowed a lot of points from USC. While 7 of these points came in crunch time, the Notre Dame defense was really struggling to stop USC in this game, which I don't really know what to think about that. Is Notre Dame's defense good for getting 2 pick sixes, or are they lucky? Or is Notre Dame good because they beat a very underrated USC team on the road? I don't know, but this win was impressive for me. Notre Dame, this was a very good win for them because pretty much every team around them just fell apart. So they're just going to move up, in my opinion. But, yeah, definitely a good win for them. Good win for Notre Dame. Miami at Syracuse. I'm very proud of this prediction. Even though I didn't pick Syracuse, I'm very proud of this prediction because I knew this one was going to be close. I knew Syracuse was going to play this one close. They've lost quite a few close games this year, and they've also had some pretty impressive wins. And Kyle McCord transferring was probably the best idea. His transferring was probably the best move he's ever made, even though he left Ohio State. He probably wasn't going to keep the starting job over Will Howard, but just leaving Ohio State to go to Syracuse, even though Syracuse is nowhere near the same level as Ohio State, there's definitely something brewing there. Their head coach seems like a pretty chill guy. But Miami, just like what year? 2017 is collapsing in the final games of the year, and they're kind of fraudulent. Syracuse definitely... I would say Miami more have lost this one on their own. This one was a very back and forth battle with Syracuse getting a big break from like a defensive scoop and score. But Miami definitely taking the 3. I don't know how far 4th down conversion would have been, but taking the 3 that spelt doom for them because they pretty much just couldn't get the ball back in their hands, and Syracuse won the ball game in a shootout. So, yep, Miami's defense is stinky. It is official. Cal at SMU. Also, Cam Ward should not win the Heisman. I was saying Cam Ward should win the Heisman, but I think we need to go back. We need to go back, reverse. The only reason Jaden Daniels won the Heisman was because he had an absolutely historic season, broke like record upon record. Dude was playing out of his mind. And I do think, well, Michael Penix also had a pretty good year. Probably Michael Penix should have probably won. They gave it to Jane Daniels because SEC, and he's really fast, and has a big arm. Michael Penix probably should have won the Heisman, but that LSU, there's the real reason Jane Daniels shouldn't have won the award, was because LSU was a 3-loss team. If a team that is not like if Cam Ward wins and like let's say they I don't know when the Heisman Award is announced, but if Cam Ward wins as a 2-loss team over like Ashton Jeanty or somebody, I'm not sure about I'm not sure. We'll see how Ashton Jeanty plays against UNLV in their conference championship, but I feel like Ashton Jeanty is the front runner right now. And other candidates that are up there, I'm not really sure. I mean, Cam Scatterby was up at, I wouldn't say up there, but he's in the race for sure. There's no question about that. But I don't really know many of the other candidates. If I looked at a list, it'd all come back to me. But I don't think Cam Ward should win it because his team is just, they don't got the record. Yeah, and the Heisman used to be like the best player of the best team award kind of deal. Like there was no 3-loss team winning the Heisman. I feel like they're kind of switching it to now to like a most valuable player without saying it. They're just calling it the Heisman. Because Jaden Daniels was, if we were looking in terms of stats and stuff, he was the most valuable player. He was the most valuable quarterback. He should have gone first overall probably, but Caleb Williams was Caleb Williams, so they picked him. But like he was the most valuable player that year in college football. While Michael Penix was a close second, Jane Daniels had a massive advantage in being able to run up very, very fast. But Michael Penix should have won because his team was better, and that's how it used to be. That's how it should be. So ultimately, I don't think Cam Ward should win the award now. Besides, he's not winning in clutch time like the Heisman would, like Joe Burrow would, like all these quarterbacks would, like Michael Penix would. He's not winning in clutch time. In fact, he kind of sold the game away against Georgia Tech. So I don't think he should win the Heisman anymore. If he would have won this one, I'd have been like, all right, but he didn't. And I think he shouldn't win the award. Cal at SMU, 14-38, 6-38. That's a pretty good prediction. Auburn at Alabama. All right, time to talk about Bama and why they are overrated. Alabama. Something that has been made very obvious to me. In the games they have absolutely dominated in, I said this would be close. It was close, but the games they've absolutely dominated in and put up a lot of points, there has been one recurring thing. Jalen Milroe has run the ball. In the games where Jalen Milroe has not run the ball, it has been the exact opposite outcome. Against LSU, Jalen Milroe ran the damn ball. Against Auburn, Jalen Milroe ran the damn ball. Like, in their really big dominations, Jalen Milroe was able to run very, very fast. But in the games where he wasn't, Oklahoma, Tennessee, like he wasn't able to run as much, the offense significantly drops off for the Crimson Tide and they lose. And I think that's just a bad football team. I wouldn't say bad football team. I would more say bad quarterback. Because, like, you're on the Tide, dude. Brian Williams, like, I don't really know many of the names on the Alabama team other than Ryan Williams, but, like, you've got the team around you. Kalen DeBoer may not be no Nick Saban, but he's definitely a very good head coach. Like, you've still got talent, dude. You've got plenty of talent around you. You have the gift of being able to use your legs, but you've got to be able to throw the ball. And I mean, throwing the ball this season has not necessarily been his specialty. Like, he has been running the ball. He has been running the ball a lot. I think he had like 2 or 3 rushing touchdowns in this game. And then his passing was like an interception in like X yards. Like, if you're only able to run the ball, dude, if you go up against a team like Oregon, if you go up against a team like Ohio State, or teams that can shut you down on the run, like teams that just have the linebackers and are ready for you, dude, that's not looking good for your offense, because when it comes down to passing the ball, you're not getting it done. And I just don't know if I don't know if Alabama's any good in a scenario. Like, it feels like this team has been so lopsided, and I feel like this is the reason why, because there's a week where they absolutely dominate, then there's another week where they get dominated, and there's one reoccurring thing. It's like, did Jalen Milroe run a lot this game? Oh yeah, he did, so they won by a lot. Did Jalen Milroe run a lot in this game? No, he didn't at all, so they lose by a lot. Or like, they just lose a close game. It's like, I'm not really sure Alabama's any good, and dude, they got to get a quarterback that is able to throw the ball, to say the least. They got to get somebody who can sling the rock. ASU at Arizona. This was really like the only performance by somebody in the top 25 that was like, like dominant. Like, this was I probably SMU dominant. SMU dominant. There's probably a couple other teams that I'm forgetting about, but there was a very limited few teams in which they were just so dominant. And I thought ASU going into this one, I was like, I feel like we're going to turn the ball over. I feel like we're going to make mistakes, and I feel like they're going to have a hard time locking down the T-Mac guy. Wrong. ASU absolutely dominated Arizona. I mean, their touchdown came when we were like up probably 28-7 or something. We were up like 35. We were up like 35-7, and the game was like already over. We went for a 4th and 8 because our kicker had already missed a chip shot in the game, which is beautiful to see. Missed a chip shot, so we went for 4th and 8, and we just slung like a 50-yard pass to the end zone. Pull out the starters. We get the ball back. We've got our beautiful, beloved human being. I love you, Trenton Bourguet. We put him in, and he passes it to a freshman, and he rips off like a 60-plus yard touchdown. Just not like a deep shot. It was like a screen pass. He just made a great play getting around the defense, and he took off. That was how bad U of A was playing. They were terrible in this game. And yeah, they just dominated. I would not have told you this would have been the outcome of this game this year. Arkansas, Missouri. I just think when you look at this, when you look at a game like this, and you look at the Arkansas loss to Oklahoma State, you got to just be like, oh my God. Like, are they really good? Are they really good? Because Missouri finally starts to change my opinion, and they barely won this game in their home stadium. Missouri, are they top 25? I'm not sure. I don't really know. I feel like the SEC is going to blow up the college football playoff. I think they might all lose. Purdue at Indiana. Wow, good job, Purdue. Impressive season. Their head coach is probably going to get fired. Washington at Oregon. I'm happy I didn't really give Washington more love, but the kid from my high school played a game at Washington. Congrats, dude. Nice. But they got dominated. Texas at Texas A&M. This is kind of I'm happy Texas A&M is out. I'm happy they're out. I would have liked to see them beat Texas, but I definitely didn't want to see this team win the SEC championship. Texas A&M was probably going to be out no matter what, but the fact of the matter is your crowd tried. Your fans tried. Your defense tried. But you were so pathetic offensively, you scored 7 puntos. And yeah, Texas, this is not an impressive performance. This is a defensive performance, again, which I've been saying all year is Texas's strong point. They have a good defense. Offensively, no. Offensively, they're bad. The Georgia-Texas SEC championship, I think your SEC champion this year is Georgia. Kansas State at Iowa State. Dude, let's talk about the Big 12 championship for a second here. I said Iowa State would win this one. Kansas State should have won this one. While the yards and stuff were close, that was because Kansas State was turning the ball over. I think they were 1 for 4 on 4th down efficiency, and they had like 2 fumbles or something. Iowa State barely had any turnovers and stuff, and Kansas State still had like more yards of offense. I wanted Iowa State to win this game. I wanted ASU to play Iowa State. Now, problem is our star receiver, Jordan Tyson, in shite time of the Arizona State game got hurt in a shoulder injury, and he walked down a sling. And it was devastating because he's been having such a good year. And it was so sad seeing him walk out of the walk out of the locker room in tears. Devastating stuff to see, because I originally started off the year being like, I hated him because he would drop passes, he would fumble, he'd drop passes, they get tipped for interceptions. I was like, this guy's gonna drag us down, and he improved so drastically. He started to lock up those things, and I started to love the dude, and he was playing like an absolute star. He's been playing like an absolute star. It's been a continuous story offensively for ASU. It has been Sam Leavitt, Cam Scatterby, and Jordan Tyson every game putting up phenomenal numbers. They've been on fire offensively. And how's the momentum going to get killed in crunch time in a game you're up 35-7 in? It was devastating. It was like, I guarantee you, if he would have just stayed up for like 2 more plays, we were probably going to put in the bench warmers. Like, we were probably going to put in the second stringers. He got hurt at the very end, and it was so sad. But seeing Iowa State win this and seeing that ASU's playing Iowa State is probably the best thing that could have happened here, because quite frankly, how ASU beat Kansas State was Jordan Tyson. How ASU beat BYU was Cam Scatterby, but also there was also a lot of Jordan Tyson in that game ripping off big plays and stuff. Iowa State has a worse recorded rush defense than Arizona, which looks fan-freaking-tabulous. But now that you lose your star receiver, Iowa State can kind of utilize this. I'm assuming. Why is the background Utah? I just realized this. I did not realize the background was Utah. I thought this was Iowa State. My fault. How the hell did I pick a Utah background? I must have just not changed it from the Iowa State Utah game. My fault. I was looking at that and I was like, wait a minute. My fault. But is Iowa State going to change their game plan going into the ASU game? Are they going to push linebackers up and make Sam Leavitt throw it to the targets who he hasn't really targeted that much? While you do have Mateer got laid out and was hurt for a bit. He came back in, so I assume he just got whiplash and maybe got the breath knocked out of him. But Mateer did get knocked up in the game. Melquan Stovall and Xavier Guillory they are phenomenal players. I wish we utilized them more this year. I love Stovall. He's such a good punt returner, dude. He's got such good fundamentals. He's a very just like football guy. Like he sticks by the book. He's not trying to be all fancy and stuff. He knows what he needs to do and he'll do it. Guillory has had multiple deep shot touchdowns this year that have gone under the radar. He caught one in the Arizona game on 4th and 8. Big touchdown. I think if we can utilize those targets more, then ASU can definitely win this game against Iowa State, in my opinion. But the problem is Jordan Tyson has been targeted so much this season. Is it going to be that big of a problem offensively to where Iowa State's going to compete? I do hope ASU performs really well, of course, but I am worried with the loss of Jordan Tyson that ASU is even going to be able to beat Iowa State. That would be very, very sad, but I hope we're able to do it. And defensively, Iowa State is they like to turn the ball over, 1. And 2, when they throw interceptions, they like to throw pick sixes, which if ASU can get a pick 6 in this game, that would be huge. But I don't know. ASU also hasn't gotten many turnovers this year. Like we have, but we haven't. Like you look at the BYU turns the ball over a lot. Kansas State turns the ball over a lot. Texas Tech turns the ball over a lot. All these teams turn the ball over a lot, but when they play ASU, they get shut down to little points, but they don't really turn the ball over that much. The only real exception of that was Kansas State, but like the interception was because of a fantabulous defensive play. Like nothing that the offense just messed up on. Like and that's been the thing for ASU is they've been like tipped passes for interceptions and stuff. The only exception was in the BYU game where the quarterback overthrew his target. That was the only like given interception we've really had or given turnover. The rest have been forced, which I got to question is why. Like, why don't these teams make mistakes against ASU's defense? They get shut down, and ASU's defense does a really good job holding them to like little points, but they don't make the stupid mistakes where they throw it like right to the defense. Oh, well, I guess the UCF, but even then, the ASU player ran all the way across the field to go jump in front of that. I don't know, man. If ASU can get a lot of turnovers, that'd be great, but I don't know how we're going to perform. I'm scared. Nevada at UNLV. Congratulations, UNLV. You won a football game. Houston at BYU. Houston or BYU really trying. They're really trying to lose. Like, how are you going to play a close game with Houston? But whatever. That's the last game of the week. Last normal week of college football. Very, very sad, but also very exciting because this is what the whole season has led up to. Let me know what you think. Let me know, I don't know, your favorite college football team. Like and subscribe to help a comment. Always host. That's all for me. Adios.